Welcome back to The Watch. Now, I've never made it a secret that I'm conservative and very religious. And in fact, you are a bit as well, Nathan.
I am a bit. Oh, a bit. Not a lot.
A lot. But, of course, not everyone here on The Watch is strongly conservative as me, okay? Because that's the thing. It does, like, when I judge people, it's not about their political views, okay? It's more how they treat people. And even though there can be views that I really disagree with and I think are even evil, all right, I can see that there's intention behind it, where people sometimes hold these views. A lot of times they hold these views because they actually think that's the correct good thing and they're trying to be good people. I feel it's much better for people trying to be good and ending up doing perhaps what I perceive as the wrong thing than just embracing maliciousness for the sake of being malicious, okay? So I can acknowledge that and then build on the good intentions that I see in other people, get along, find common ground, and I think it's a really important thing to try and get along, learn to get along with people that you disagree with. It's almost an essential characteristic, and we're seeing damage in society from people getting worse at that, where if they hold the wrong opinion, they are Hitler. I've always been very clear that I'm religious and conservative. I have another channel, Shadiversity, very big, and I, from the very beginning, I was always clear about that. Never had a single issue with it. Now, people should be able to understand what that means about my beliefs. Like, if I'm religious, Christian, very Christian and religious and conservative, there's a good number of stereotypical religious conservative beliefs and standards that people like me hold. Okay? No one ever had an issue with the fact that I was religious and conservative. But now we have Night's Watch here where I'm more vocal about my beliefs. Suddenly people really do have an issue with it, where to the point that they can't even watch my content that is completely apolitical on Shadiversity. And thanks to Night's Watch, I've been able to make Shadiversity even more apolitical than it ever was. You're human, things slip out, okay, because we do have our beliefs that, form fundamental aspects of our identity. Now we're outspoken on them on Night's Watch. It offends so much people that they can't even, watch these, watch Shadiversity anymore, stuff like that, because I have religious views. I find this interesting because, it's almost like they're trying to say that it was okay when you were a conservative when I didn't have to see it or know about it. Almost like coming out as a conservative was too far for them. It's like they almost want me to go back in a certain closet and hide my lifestyle from them because it offends them. Just saying I'm noticing something here. And I would agree that, when I say I agree, there is a notion about, homosexuals needing to hide the fact that they're homosexuals because of being mistreated, okay? No one should ever be mistreated for having a different sexual preference, okay? That's bad. I completely condemn, obviously. Same with being mistreated for having different religious beliefs, with having different, being a different gender, having a different color of skin, everything like that, all right? And so the idea that homosexuals needed to hide that they were homosexual, okay, is a bad thing. And I think it's good that we have a far more tolerant society where people can be who they are, all right? And when I say be who they are, I'm talking more specifically about homosexuality here, because there's other things that everyone would agree that doesn't matter about your sexual preferences is bad, like pedophilia. Really bad stuff, okay? We're talking about stuff that can be between consenting people, it's not illegal, and does not harm other people, okay? And so that, okay, yeah, I completely agree with, all right? And so the idea that, homosexuals should get back in the closet or hide or everything like that, not saying that. Now, when it comes to promotion, this is because people try and claim that saying LGBT plus agenda stuff in children's media and everything is like us saying get back in the closet and stuff like that. I don't know. We're talking about promotion the same way that people against us would object to teaching religious values to people who are really against religion and don't want their kids exposed to it. There's an equivalence there, okay? Can you understand what we're saying? And I'm sure, you're not saying that you don't want religious people to exist, because I'm not that deluded to try and take that leap to vilify you. But they will try and do that with religious people like me when they say, no, look, you can have your lifestyle, but doesn't mean I need to celebrate it or promote it. Then they're going to equivocate that to us, trying to get back in the closet. We don't want to hear us. No, not saying that. And I would never say that you can't promote your lifestyles in areas where you're perfectly in your right to. Like, have a channel where you might push certain things that I really disagree with. You're entitled to that. Just like me making a channel, Night's Watch, pushing back against some of the, I guess, hijacking that we see in pop culture. But that's too far for a lot of people on the, who are against it. And then they kind of show a very interesting double standard, almost hypocritical thing where they want me to go back in the closet, you conservative, where, they knew I was a conservative and religious before, but now that, I'm expressing the things that they obviously would have to have known that, like, if you know what conservative religious, traditional Christian religious values are, you would know I hold these views. But, the fact that I dare express them and everything like that, I'm unforgivable and I cannot support you in any way. We're not perfectly fine to support you before I knew who you were, but now that you're actually speak. So again, it's like they're okay with it so long as I don't express it or don't show.
As long as they don't know.
As long as they don't know. That's actually an extremely bigoted position. That's like me saying I would never watch a show that has a homosexual in it or someone who pushes trans ideology or anything like that, okay? When that's not the case at all right? It's about, there's a difference between representation and promotion. A big difference there. And there are so many creators and movie stars, right, that hold some of the most vile political viewpoints for me and are so far removed, like different to my views and stuff. And if I held the standard that a lot of critics of me hold, we would be trying to cancel everyone. I would never watch, anything from Disney period or anything from Hollywood or anything like that. But I'm actually aware of what that road would lead to, like unending conflict, okay? Because you need to learn how to get along and accept people who have different views. And there seems to be a much stronger manifestation of bigotry and intolerance for people who have all different views and opinions on the left now than certainly on the conservative Christian side. When the conservative Christians were very attacked by the left, being intolerant and unaccepting and all that stuff, when it's almost reversed that, there is this unhinged intolerance to religious conservative views that withhold for a long, long time. One of the arguments that they say is that I cannot be tolerant of intolerance, and you're intolerant, so therefore I will not be tolerant of your intolerance, and therefore you're being intolerant, which means you should not be tolerant of your own intolerance. So there's a bit of a feedback loop, but I've actually heard that counter. It's like, there's religious beliefs, but then the views that Shad has is horribly homophobic and bigoted and stuff. It's like, hang on. A lot of traditional Christian beliefs is exactly that, where they've shifted the view and attack it grossly. And when they try and say it's horribly bigoted and stuff like that, that's them saying that tolerance and acceptance of other people isn't enough. And we've been, like, on so many videos we've said, in practice as well, where I have friends with vastly different views to me, okay? And this includes people on, of course, different race, different genders, different religious beliefs, all of that, different sexual preferences and stuff. Never, ever been an issue about being friends with people. And again, I judge people based on how they treat other people, okay? All right? But that's not enough. I have to celebrate, and not only that, accept. You have to accept how I believe myself to be, otherwise you're intolerant. It's like, whoa, do you accept what I believe? Am I forcing you to believe what I believe and to acknowledge it and change the way you speak for the sake of my own offense and feelings? No, I'm not doing that, but that's what they're demanding of me and others. Bit of a double standard. Identity is an interesting one because it does relate to, say, other things on the more progressive side where they say if you don't use my pronouns, you're denying my identity, okay? And they don't seem to acknowledge that how much of an aspect of someone's identity religion, forms. Like, nearly every choice I make is informed by my religion.
I would say the same.
Like, down to the things I eat and drink. To my language, the word choices I use.
To what we spend our time doing.
How we interact with others. Like, you could almost say every part of my life and my identity is informed by my religion. And as a result, it's at least equivalent, if not more so, that religion can form a stronger part of someone's identity and who they are than their gender even. Okay? But people love to deny the validity of my religion and belittle it all the time. And I have come to learn to know that that's part of life, because people have free will, freedom, and everything. And I can't take away someone's right to express themselves or to think whatever the hell they want about my beliefs. But they want to reverse that. They want to take away religious people's rights to have different opinions, okay, or even judgments and disagreements with other people's lifestyles because it forms their part of it. They say, you're denying my existence and identity, when they're willing to do something that is actually quite equivalently offensive, if they want to take offense at this, to religious people. And they have a very biased double standard here. When what needs to happen is because this is the thing, I do believe in gender, biological gender. Not only that, I believe in spiritual gender, that the soul has a gender, and doesn't matter what you want to change physically, it's going to remain the same. Lots of people won't share that, religious viewpoint, but there is an absolute biological reality to gender. And I don't care how much they want to try and redefine what gender is versus sex. It's no, I don't accept that rearranging of language, okay? And so it doesn't matter what you want to believe about yourself, okay, that you're X, Y, or Z, that will never convince me or cause me to change my view, because I'm entitled to my own belief. Yet they will attack me for disagreeing with their belief, their worldview of who they are, viciously so, yet have a double standard where they will belittle and denigrate so many other views, things that form my identity, and do grossly offensive things against it using language and other stuff. And that's entitled because they're entitled to their opinions and views. But if my opinions and views offend them, I'm evil, need to be cancelled, all those things, and you have to be browbeaten into accepting, otherwise you're a terrible person. Bit of a double standard. My views have never changed. I've been very consistent. I was raised with values. I found those values to be beneficial and correct and true, and in practice, a lot, okay? But a lot of these views that were just mainstream conservative, and by the way, still are now grossly offensive for a lot of people. Have you noticed that?
I have.
Yeah. I find that interesting. And for me, that doesn't mean that I can't have great friendships, get along with people, be accepting, tolerant of everyone who has different opinions, beliefs, standards as me. But for the world, especially the woke movement, they are saying that no, not only should you do that, but you need to celebrate it and even promote it. And that's no, that's different. I thought it was just being tolerant and accepting. But if you don't celebrate and promote to the level that they're saying and allow it to be promoted to in the world, to your kids and everything like that, you're a homophobic bigot and they attack you. And that's where we draw the lines. No, okay? Do you allow me to promote my religion to your kids? Okay? Are you intolerant of religion then and stuff like that? But the thing is, though, you get to choose what your kids are exposed to, of course, and you don't get to choose what my kids are exposed to or the values that I want to raise. And I'm going to, of course, raise them to be tolerant and accepting, but not to celebrate certain lifestyles that I think are not good or beneficial and stuff. Just like people who disagree with my religious beliefs are perfectly entitled to think my religious beliefs are, not what they want their kids to. In fact, they'll go, there are people who think my religious beliefs are evil, vile, bad, and they think religion is a whole negative on society, and they go so far to be really bigoted and vile. And so what we need to come to is just accept that other people have different lifestyles, different opinions, let them do, live their lives, everything, so long as it does impact my freedoms, okay, and my ability to raise my kids and stuff like that. I won't force my religion on you either, okay? And so I see this almost parallel, this interesting standard that's equivalent but not considered equivalent, okay? When religious conservatives like me object to LGBT plus all that promotion in media and children's media and stuff like that, they consider that's bigoted. But then if you dare promote religious values like belief in God and everything in children's media, do you often see Christian values presented in media in a way to promote and teach it and stuff?
I've never, even in politics especially, it's always very, when it's said, everyone goes, okay, moving along now. On the news, which TV, with Easter recently coming past by, there've been certain messages and they brush past, all the religious stuff and say, be safe on the roads and do this and that. And so when it comes to like religious stuff in TV as well, it's always very belittled, looked down upon, or brushed by very quickly.
Yeah, and if there is a thing like religious messaging that is perceived to be promoting and trying to teach people religious messaging in mainstream media, well, people who are very against religion, they cry bloody murder, don't they? Okay, because they don't want their children or to be, propaganda to be put in the media. Now, when it comes to conservatives that have similar issues with promoting lifestyles and practices that they disagree with, especially to children, all right, again, they say, well, you're just being homophobic. We should be allowed. And they're saying you're trying to prevent they're trying to say, you think gay people shouldn't exist in media. And that's like, are you insane? We've never said that. We're talking, there's a big difference between having, people of multiple different lifestyles in media, okay? Never complained that Dumbledore was gay, all right? Of course, yes. You think I don't know gay people exist? Obviously. And sometimes their inclusion in stories where they are actively shown to being homosexual is really important to the story, like How to Train... like House of the Dragon.
Yes.
I've How to Train Your Dragon the Mind. It's a great film, by the way, How to Train Your Dragon. Okay? And so that's never been the thing that we've ever tried to object to. But when it comes to actual promotion and teaching it, that's when, okay, hang on, let's actually talk about this, okay? Because there is this idea of normalization and everything about certain practices that we would disagree with. But then they wouldn't allow normalization of promoting Christian practices and stuff, or certain key Christian beliefs and stuff. You don't get to necessarily dictate what people call you. Like, people call me horrible things and I can't stop them. There is that freedom of speech element, stuff like that. And then there comes into this nature of respect, that you should use people's pronouns because, it's an act of respect. And it's like, oh, interesting. So does that mean you would never use... There's some people who do, but a lot of people do not care about religious sensibilities and will take the name of Jesus Christ as a swear word all the time. And that grossly offends me, religious people and stuff, but to hell with their feelings and stuff, they'll do it anyway because you can't dictate or force. And it's true, I can't dictate or force people to use the language that I find more, acceptable. And so I don't try and push or do that, because this thing, people don't have to believe what you believe. They don't have to accept your worldview and everything. And I can't force that on people, nor should I. So the same thing, same with the whole pronouns thing. And so I view promoting, say, pronouns in children's media far worse than, say, people who disagree with me about religion, who would cry afoul if I have religious teachings put into children's media, all right? But guess what? There is media with, like, pronouns, and there is actual Christian-based, children's shows. Fruit Tales or Veggie Tales?
Veggie Tales, yeah.
Veggie Tales is a distinctly Christian show. And so I have those ones. My kids do watch them. They're a bit older now, but used to watch it a lot more. And perfectly good and stuff to have them watch on Sundays. And so there is that media for me. But do you think all these, anti-religious people and everything would be happy with Veggie Tales just appearing and being promoted to their kids and stuff like that?
Probably not. No.
Probably not. And so this is what I mean about there's an equivalent standard here, but people aren't applying it evenly and fairly, where if you push back against propaganda that you don't want to be exposed to, you're a bigot, but they will push back against things that they view or as propaganda, and that's perfectly justified and they're fine, when they can't acknowledge the fact that maybe these are just different beliefs and we can accept that people have different beliefs and still get along. That seems to be beyond them. So there's a bit to that I wanted to just kind of talk about that I've observed recently. I don't know, I've been mostly rambling and things.
Look, I got to be careful because sometimes I say things I don't mean to say. That's why I'm listening and letting Shad be the, what's it called? The speaker for this one, because I would say things that I didn't mean and then people would get even more hurt. So,
well, just on that, I can see how that happens, especially when you get a bit, because it happens to me, when I get a bit rambly and stuff like that, you can go down certain logical paths that because you're following the logical path and you're not slowing down, double checking everything, that path can suddenly make you spout out something you actually don't believe in. Because people can misspeak, shockingly. And then when you do that, that's...
and it's the internet, and it's up here forever. Yeah. But no, I'll probably just say that, I'll iterate what Shad said, that, yes, it's very true, especially me growing up religious, high school was, dodging bullets sometimes. You had to, as soon as someone knew, and this is at a Catholic school as well, they say, I am religious, I don't swear. And then for the next 6 months, everyone's trying to get me to say a swear word. Or like, when
I had people bribe me and offer me money to swear.
Yeah, like, when you tell them that, I don't have sex before marriage, how could you live? Like,
I know. What? We say pornography is vile and bad and should be avoided. It's like that blows people's minds.
So many things are very different.
Especially the alcohol one.
Yeah. In Australia, like of all places.
Because both Nathan and I were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so we don't drink alcohol, but as well as tea and coffee, okay?
That, I think, is even more striking because I think alcohol, people go, oh yeah, people have experiences with it. Maybe, you've had history. Alcohol, you can tell it's a bit more worse than other things, but even things like black, green, white tea and coffee, in Melbourne, that's like the blood juice of this area.
And the tea and coffee is an interesting one because these religious beliefs that we have, they mostly come out of avoiding addictive substances. And tea and coffee was identified as being very addictive early on. But if you understand the spirit of the law, you would naturally avoid other addictive substances. But we don't. There's like a strict list, or it's illegal drugs, alcohol, tea and coffee, and tobacco, so smoking.
But then there's the other side of it too, of eating grain, being healthy, having a good lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. But the specific ones there. And then the rest, every member is allowed to make their own judgments on, and we don't judge members if they are consuming something that we don't want to, when we're not consuming it based on following what we feel is the spirit of the law. We have, we're empowered to make certain decisions after that.
Well, I think my other part would be to there's the physical aspect, but there's also the very spiritual aspect, which I feel like...
Yes, that's where I was going.
The woke, they have their own spirituality in their movement, I feel like. And that's something that they will very strong... All the strong feelings, I think, for them come from that spirituality that they need in their humanity. And for us, that comes from a different perspective. And they don't understand that when we talk about the spiritual things, why we do things that we do.
Yeah, and in regards to the actually abstaining from things like tea and coffee and everything like that, this is more of an expression of religious devotion, saying we're willing to abstain from these things. And look, there are certain discussions about the health benefits and everything like that, and there are... Alcohol is far more, clear a discussion on it. But when it comes to tea and coffee and everything, it's a bit more of a, if you're trying to approach it secularly, just should you not drink tea and coffee for health, different things, stuff like that. That's far more of a grey area where the commandment isn't necessarily given for that. It's more given as an opportunity to do something for the sake of a religious offering, that I will abstain from this simply because I want to show my obedience to God and He's asked me to do it, all right? Because that's one of the fundamental beliefs that we have in our faith, is that one of the goals is to learn to do all things whatsoever the Lord our God shall command us, because we want to express our love and devotion to Him. And so we believe in tests of obedience because of it comes from God, basically. And this is just one way that we are able to practice and try and get better at that, where there are other obvious things like, more destructive stuff. So just to inform people on that. But yeah, what stood out as a sore thumb growing up with these views and everything, and I have come across gross religious intolerance my entire life. But very few people will try and protect my religious sensibilities at all. In fact, they'll more get on board with attacking me for my religious beliefs.
And it's funny because you're not doing anything to anyone, really. It's all your own choices that only affect you. Like stuff like, not drinking tea or coffee, or, abstaining from certain... you're not trying to do something or force something upon them. You're abstaining from something that they're participating in.
Like abstaining from using certain pronouns. That's an active thing they're trying to force you to do actively to appease their sensibilities, which is akin to me trying to force you to never drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Or to never look at pornography or something like that. Take away those freedoms, all right? And pornography I find grossly offensive, all right? And people who use and promote it, okay, I feel this is a very bad thing. I can't take away people's right and freedom, but I can definitely try and protect my kids from it as long as possible, okay? And there are other people who disagree with me. They'll live their lives and they'll, raise their kids as they want. But again, can you see this kind of standard that we're trying to show? That there's a difference between tolerating and allowing other people to live the way they want to live versus celebrating and promoting it. And when I say acknowledge is that's the type of thing where you must acknowledge my identity, therefore use the expressions I expect you to use to acknowledge my identity and stuff like that. It's no, you can't force someone to do that, okay? You can believe you are whatever you are, But as soon as you want to force people to acknowledge that belief, that's when you're attacking freedoms and you're being a hypocrite because you don't do that for me. You don't do that for my religious beliefs. And so there we go. Just something that's been on my mind for a bit that I wanted to talk about. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you everyone for watching. And as always, stay on watch.